Stephen Lovely here for CordCutting.com with the ultimate streaming showdown. Roku, Fire TV. Which devices are better? Which platform is better? Let's go in depth. First thing you need to know about Roku and about Fire TV is that when you're shopping for these devices, what you should pay the most attention to is the platform. Now, the platform is the operating system. It's the thing that you see when you turn the device on, the menus, the screens, and which apps are available for the device. And just like you might know from iOS on iPhone, Android on Android phones, Windows, Mac, these operating systems have the same ecosystem of apps. A Roku Ultra, like this, which retails for $100, and a Roku Premier, like this, which costs $40 less, they're going to have the same apps available and the experience is going to feel very similar. There are differences between these two devices. Some of them have features that other ones don't have. This one, for example, has a special thing in the remote that lets you put headphones in and you can listen privately. So there are differences between the devices, but the experience is going to be fundamentally similar. And a really important thing is you will always be able to get the same apps. As long as your device is running relatively up-to-date versions of the software, you'll be able to get the exact same apps on a Roku Ultra as you would on a Roku Premier, Roku Express, Roku Streaming Stick, and so on. And the same thing is true of Fire TV. All of the Fire TV apps are available for all Fire TV devices. Now, what does that mean for our competition? Which platform is better? Well, they're actually both really good platforms and both have done really well in our tests and reviews on CordCutting.com. They're laid out in a fairly similar way. You'll see tiles or icons for apps just like you would on an iPhone or an Android phone. Fire TV is a little different in that it surfaces more actual titles right on your home screens, and the reason it does that is that it's owned by Amazon, and what it's surfacing tend to be things that Amazon wants you to see. So if you start a Roku up, you're going to see something that looks more like your iPhone home screen, rows and rows of apps and tabs. Whereas if you open up the Fire TV, you will see some apps, but you will also see movies to watch, things in your Amazon library, recommendations from Amazon Prime. And as you navigate across the tabs, you'll find this is more or less consistent. Depending on which tab you're on, you might see slightly different things, but Amazon has more of a habit than Roku does of surfacing individual movies and TV shows. That can be really convenient if you want to just hurry up and get watching. It's also really nice if you're already a part of Amazon's ecosystem. If you've bought movies on Amazon, if you've bought TV show episodes on Amazon, if you have premium subscriptions through Amazon channels, this all makes it a lot easier to access it. Now, it's a little simplistic to say that Fire TV is better if you're into Amazon's ecosystem and Roku's better otherwise. That's a little basic for my taste. I think there's something to be offered here even if you're not a big Amazon person, but there is some truth to the idea. The platform is clearly tailored a little more towards the Amazon power user, and of course it encourages people who have it to become Amazon power users, which makes sense because Amazon owns it. By contrast, Roku tends to be a little more agnostic in their platform, by which I mean they don't direct you so much to specific types of services. Whereas Android TV, owned by Google, probably wants you to rent your movies from Google, and Amazon Fire TV obviously wants you to rent them from Amazon. Roku doesn't seem to care quite as much, though they have made a few concessions to partners and done things like surface this movie rental service on the sidebar of their platform. Now, Roku still has its own apps, like I mentioned. It services some of its partners, some of its business partners. It also has the Roku Channel, which is its own free streaming app, and tries to get you to subscribe to not so free things through that. But by and large, I think that Roku's a little more for the person who wants to spread their streaming out across different services, who doesn't want to become an all Amazon all the time kind of person, whereas Amazon is a little better for someone who's more of an Amazon power user. But again, you can't go too wrong with either of these. These are both really user-friendly platforms, and even if you have a lot of Amazon apps, I think you'll like Roku, and even if you don't, I think you'll like Fire TV. As for the devices themselves, Roku has the bigger lineup. There's more price points to check out, and Amazon has a slightly smaller one with a few interesting oddballs in the lineup. For instance, this Amazon Fire TV Cube is, first of all, a form factor you don't always see in streaming, but also a really interesting device in that it has a built-in speaker, and it acts a little bit like an Amazon Alexa device. In fact, it is an Amazon Alexa device, just a little different from the Amazon Echo or the Amazon Echo Dot. Now, this thing can turn your TV on and off with the oral command. Even if your TV's not already on, it's already listening to you. And that's in contrast to Roku, which does have some voice commands, but isn't doing the always on, always listening kind of thing that Amazon's device is doing. Roku, for its part, has a more straightforward lineup. Basically, its devices are different sizes and plug into your TV. We'll talk about the smart TVs in a second. But these are just different types of streaming sticks and streaming boxes. They scale up from the Roku Express, which is pretty basic and very affordable, all the way up to the Roku Ultra, which is not only 4K, but it's also loaded up with bells and whistles like the little private listening feature that I mentioned earlier. Now, both of them come in at a sweet spot around $50. This is the Fire TV Stick 4K and the Roku Streaming Stick Plus. And these are probably the sweet spot in streaming. I think about $50 or so is where you really get the most bang for your buck. It doesn't mean that I don't recommend getting something fancier like this if you can afford it and if you feel like it. But I think at this point, right around $50 is when you hit the maximum value for your dollar. And the fact that both of them have a really good option at this level is another reason that they're so close and is why this is such a hard call to make. I think ultimately it's just gonna come down to the platform. Both of these are really serviceable. Both of these are really beautiful little devices. Both of them did really, really well in our tests. One more thing we have to mention is the smart TVs. Now, what's the difference between the two brands of smart TVs? Really just the platform. They have different manufacturing partners, but they come in similar sizes. Both come in 4K models, both come in 1080p models. So again, your decision's really not gonna come down so much to the device. You should first decide which platform you want, and then within the lineup, you can drill down to which device. The Roku TVs and the Amazon TVs are basically just smart TVs that come preloaded with the platform in question. So instead of having to plug in a Roku to make your TV into a Roku, you can have it right there and not have to plug anything in at all. The moment you turn on your TV, you'll see it. And the Amazon Fire TV version works the exact same way. Turn it on and there it is. Finally, the thing I want to mention is that Amazons go on sale more often than Roku's. That's a function of just being on Amazon, but you can get deals on either of these. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye on cordcutting.com's deals pages where we track these sort of thing and try to find the moment where you can pounce. So that's it, Roku versus Fire TV. If you'll notice, I didn't make a call, and that's because there really isn't much daylight between these two, and it's just gonna come down to your personal preference. I mentioned earlier that I didn't really love the idea that if you're an Amazon fan, you need Fire TV, otherwise it's Roku, because I think that oversimplifies what each has to offer. But I will say that they're so close that something like that, which I don't consider to be a be-all and end-all factor, kind of makes the difference. So if you are on the fence, as I am between these two, it might just come down to that. How much Amazon do you use? I hope you'll pick the right one for you, and I hope that you'll find our reviews helpful on cordcutting.com. We can help you drill down to the individual models and figure out which of these ones you want. Hope to see you there and hope to see you on the channel again. Hope you'll like and subscribe. Thanks so much for spending time with me. I'm Stephen Lovely for cordcutting.com.